Lots of showers around today, as we can see here in Cornwall, but not many waves. Of course, the seas won't look like this tomorrow. Storm Ciarán is the main weather headline, and at the moment it is explosively deepening out in the Atlantic, really gathering shape and racing towards the UK. It's this that will be bringing us some very strong winds. Indeed, the Met Office have issued a couple of amber weather warnings for strong winds affecting parts, but not all of southern England. Gusts reaching 70 or 80 miles an hour, strong enough to bring down some trees. However, across the Channel Islands and northwest France, winds could gust to over 100 miles an hour. Winds that strong could rip some roofs off buildings, leading to some structural damage. Whereas not so far away, the winds will be kind of more typical for some of you. So the kind of winds we get quite often in the autumn and the winter season. So Storm Ciarán bringing a big variation in wind speed from place to place over a relatively short distance. On into the weekend's forecast, well, it stays quite unsettled, really. We're looking at some showers or some longer spells of rain. But of course, the main focus, certainly on the next 24 hours or so, is on those potentially violent winds that some of us will see from Storm Ciarán in the south.
Good afternoon. Storm Ciarán approaches as we head through this afternoon into the evening. Already pretty unsettled though today. This was in Vauxhall earlier on, and already some heavy showers. You can see some flooding there down in Chiswick. Now overnight tonight the Met Office has a yellow weather warning in place, one for wind and one for heavy rain. Now Storm Ciarán brings heavy winds gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour. More exposed areas could get 50 to 60 miles per hour, especially through tomorrow morning, but some heavy rain as well. You can see moving in through the night.
Oh, you've been tracking this, haven't you, Sally? What's going on?
Well, yesterday it was only just forming, and now it is here and it is just reaching the UK. So we can take a little look at it. This was it just a few minutes ago. It's reached the UK. You can see that white area bringing that wind and that rain with it. And as it reaches us here in the southeast, we'll probably get the strongest winds here tomorrow morning. But as the back end of Ciarán comes through, watch out tomorrow evening. Those winds will pick up again. And so we've got the warnings in place, the yellow warning here. Parts of London could get gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour, but in this amber area, those gusts could be even stronger, particularly around those exposed coastal areas. So what about the impacts that we're potentially looking at? Well, I'm afraid trees and branches could come down because with the leaves on the trees, they do act like a bit of a sail. Travel and power issues. Do keep an eye on the railways and the roads, and of course airports as well. And then with the rain, we've got that warning in place as well. We could see spray on the roads, and with leaves possibly blocking drains, that could be a bit of an issue as well. Let's take a little look at the forecast. Here we go. Hello again. So those yellow warnings for wind and rain, they kick off this evening and go right through until tomorrow evening. And at the moment, the amber warning for those strongest winds that I mentioned to the far south and east of England and around the coastline, that starts tomorrow morning.
But let's focus on the wet and windy weather, and the strongest winds are along the southern flank of that storm. So by the early hours of the morning, gusts of 70, 80 miles an hour in the southwest. It's quite a small area of southern England covered by the amber wind warning. The stronger winds will push their way through the channel and arrive along coastal areas in the southeast during the morning and into tomorrow afternoon. Conditions will be worse through the English Channel, along the coast of northern France and into the Channel Islands, with gusts of over 90 miles an hour. Some very big waves as well. Whatever it is, well, it's worth saying, first of all, we are going to miss the very worst of the weather. The strongest winds are going to be to the south of us, towards the south coast. However, we do have a yellow weather warning from the Met Office. So this is the lower level of warnings, and we are expecting some high winds, and we're likely to find the winds gusting 50, perhaps even 60 miles an hour, probably nearer the 50, I suspect, with the stronger winds around London and to the south of London. Got a bit gusty today when we had those showers coming in, but the weather is going to be much worse for tomorrow. Looking forward to the weekend, we've got some rain to come, I think, on Saturday. The weather looks much better, though, for Sunday.
So Alex, explain exactly what we are going to see then over the next 48 hours.
Well, let me first start by saying we saw the scenes there developing in the Channel Islands. It's the first time in my nearly 20-year weather presenting career that I've seen the shipping forecast actually mention hurricane force winds. We aren't going to get a hurricane, but it has been likened to it because the winds are going to be very strong indeed, and we're going to take a closer look at this in just a second. But let's start with the warnings that are in place as we head through this evening. And at the moment there is a rain warning in place, and that covers much of the southern counties of England, all of Wales, and here we could see 30 to 40 millimetres of rain falling quite widely, maybe 60 to 80 millimetres in some localised spots, which would cause some impact. We've also got wind warning in place as well. And even as we head further inland, we could actually see the wind warning producing gusts up to maybe 50 to 60 miles per hour in some inland parts. But as we fast forward into tomorrow, that's when we see more warnings getting added. We're going to have another rain warning on Thursday being added up towards the northeast, but also the amber warnings for wind kick in across some parts of the south coast. And in the amber warning areas, we can actually expect gusts of between maybe 70 to 80 miles per hour, but they could be even stronger. And as we know, the Jersey Mets have actually issued a rare red warning. So for the Channel Islands, we could see gusts up to 100 miles per hour. This would cause storm surges. We are expecting to see some flooding here. Waves could be as high as 30 feet.
And this is a busy couple of days, isn't it? Yeah,
it's going to be very busy. As I say, all eyes on the forecast, and Storm Ciarán is fast approaching. In fact, we can take a quick look at the scene in Exmouth in Devon at the moment. You can see the rain has already started, but it is going to intensify here as we head through the next few hours. And as we know, there are weather warnings in place. In fact, several warnings in place as we head through the next couple of days. In fact, warnings are in place until Friday for rain and wind. The difference between Storm Babette and Storm Ciarán is going to be the wind, which is going to be very strong. Let's take a look at the details right now. Well, here's a quick reminder of what we're expecting as we head through the next couple of days. We're talking about gusts of between 70 to 80 miles per hour on the southern coast, but they could be even stronger as we've been hearing throughout the programme. And even as we come a little further inland, gusts of between 50 to 60 miles per hour are possible, and that would be strong enough to cause some destruction in places. So as you can see, we've got these amber warnings in place as we head into tomorrow along the south coast. But as I mentioned, if you're watching earlier in the programme, we've got this red warning, which was issued by the Jersey Met Office, and that is for gusts of between 90 to 100. And that certainly would cause some storm surges. We're talking about waves possibly as high as 30 feet, causing flooding. I can't say this enough, please do not go near coastal roads as we head through. And this is why. Look at Storm Ciarán. It's a very deep area of low pressure. It's going to produce very strong winds, but also some heavy rain as well. That could cause flooding in places. The combination of the rain and also high spring tides and the winds are going to make for a pretty bad recipe, I can tell you that. And that's why those warnings are in place. As I say, please don't go near coastal roads along that south coast. There could be widespread flooding in places.
OK, so really be careful. All right, Alex, thank you.
Now, beyond that, into the weekend, it does stay unsettled. We've got some pretty wet weather to come across southern parts of England and Wales on Saturday. Showers or longer spells of rain into the north and west. Storm Ciarán then bringing some violent gusts of wind, the strongest of which bringing some severe damage to parts of the Channel Islands and also northwest France, but some damaging winds across parts of southern England too.